brand new and directly from the manufacturer. We have a Corsair H80 high performance liquid CPU cooler. Let's take a look.
Smells good.
Alright, here's the box. Supports Corsair's digital link, if they ever release that. Let's see what's inside. It opens up like their power supplies. Flap open top. Things of garbage inside there, solutions guide, cares. Here's the unit itself. Looks like this is one of the mounting brackets. This I should eat. Alright, here's the unit itself. Trying not to break or pull anything. Screws. The two Corsair branded fans. Take those out in a minute. And that's about it. Here's everything out of the packaging. There's the 220mm fans here. You have screws and the actual mounting hardware backplate. Looks like an instruction manual. And here's the unit itself. It's hard to show you the front here because it's not very malleable, but let's see if we can do it. There you go. Out of the way. Here's how it's going to look mounted inside of the case. Has a little plastic film protection on there on the front. The back is all copper, has its own thermal pad, so it doesn't look like you need any thermal material there. Let's see how it works. Alright, first things first for the install here. The back plate has to go on. If you look, the back plate here has little movable nuts, or whatever you want to call it. So if they're all the way out, that's for the new or the upcoming LGA 2011 platform. If you slide them in, that's for 1155, 1366, 1156, any of the 775, any of the chipsets there. There's a different plate or different back end plate for the AMD style chips. There's also, or for the AMD chips, there's also these little things for the Intel chips. The smaller ones here are for LGA 2011, and the longer one here are for all the other Intel chips. I've installed the back plate on the back of my LGA 1155 board here. I had to move these screws in just a little bit there. If you notice at the top there's a cutout that's just enough space for the two screws that are built onto the CPU holder here. So make sure you put the cutout facing up if you're using an 1155 board. The H80 uses these screws to connect the fan to the actual radiator itself. If you look, they're threaded at the top, but at the bottom down there they have a spot for where the fan actually goes. So you don't have to use the Corsair provided fans for this. So I'm going to try out my noise blocker fans and see if they're as good or better or worse than these Corsair ones. I had built a homemade 12-volt fan tester for another project that I did, so let me make sure that that thing's still putting out the correct amount of power here. Alright, let's turn this on. Yep, 12.89 volts or so, which is a little bit more than what your PC would put out. First up is the provided Corsair unit with a full 12 volts. It's actually pretty loud. It's about a foot from the camera. It's blowing on the camera. Let me turn it away from it. Alright. It's putting out a good amount of air. Next up is the noise blocker. This is the M12 S3 HS version. one of the high-speed versions. Let's try this. Quieter, but not much. That's pointed directly at the camera. It's pointed away. Not as much air, but pretty close. I think I'm going to go with the Corsair fans just to try them, because I know this thing has speed settings, and if I have to adjust, I'll do it later. Next, we'll take the pins that are the same length on each side and install them on the motherboard here, through the motherboard into that back plate. And I've done 2 so far. Let's see if we can move this closer. There you go, that's what it's going to look like there. 2 more to go. Alright, time to install the radiator itself. Here's the screws. Now these screws are supposed to have, if I can find it, a little washer here that goes on the end. This little guy goes on the end of this. But I have a fan guard that I'm going to use on the back of my case, which should act like the washer. So we'll see how it goes. Now Corsair recommends that you take your fan and install it with the airflow blowing into the case from the back. But my case is designed so that the air comes in from the front and then gets blown out the back, sucked out through here and blown out through the top blowhole here. So I'm going to go against what Corsair says and install my fans this way. In case you didn't know, this arrow here means airflow flows this way, and this arrow here means which way the fan rotates. So I'm going to do the install now. The two fan headers here from the fans are going to plug into the Corsair unit at the top, and then the Corsair unit has a 3 or a 4 pin connector. The 3-pin connector can go to the motherboard, which is here. 3-pin connector can go to the motherboard, or the 4-pin Molex connector can go to your power supply.
A few things to note: the 3-pin Molex connector that runs from the CPU block to the fan header is not required, only the 4-pin. And on each speed setting, high, medium, and low, the fan speed seems to variate as the CPU temperature rises and falls up to what seems to be a preset maximum for each level. So in conclusion, even with a high ambient temperature and installing the fans opposite of what Corsair recommends, we managed to improve the air cooling setup by around 5°C on average without raising the noise levels from what they previously were. Thank you for watching, and please leave any questions you may have in the comments section.